What does it really take to fix a broken collections process? How do you go from portal chaos and invoice delays to faster DSO, better visibility, and stronger cross-team collaboration? For many finance teams, especially in global organizations, these are more than just pain points, they're daily operational hurdles. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one company that tackled these challenges head on. You'll hear how they did it, what changed, and the ripple effects that followed. I'm Scott Leahy, and this is Esker on Air. Today, we welcome an Esker customer, Biljana Gavrilova. She's the Director of Global Finance Operations at Catalina Marketing. And she sat down with Esker's own Faye Abbots to walk through Catalina's automation journey, from manual inefficiencies to a data-driven AR process that's helping the business scale globally. Take a listen.
At this phase, let's pivot to our fireside chat with Biljana from Catalina Marketing. Again, Catalina Marketing is a global advertising company out of St. Petersburg, Florida. Biljana and I have had the pleasure of partnering together on multiple automation initiatives in recent years. So just to kick things off, clearly you have adopted a significant amount of automation in your current state, but maybe a useful place to start would be taking us back a few years to maybe 2020, 2021, before it all began. What was your kind of state of AR at that time?
So I would like for all of us to imagine that moment when a deal gets closed and then we send out an invoice, and like Faye said, it should be very simple, right? And then weeks later, we're just waiting and there is no cash in the bank, right? And to our conversation from earlier, this is not just a collections headache, right? It impacts our cash flow. It becomes a risk to it. It is a challenge with our forecast, and it really, poses a strain on the bottom line. And that's where I want to start today, because that's where, this was the reality at Catalina when I, first joined before we started the journey of automation. Our collection process wasn't just inefficient. It was creating blind spots that, directly impacted our cash flow, DSO, operational efficiencies. And so I'd like to give you the lay of the land so kind of, you understand the perspective that I'm coming from. So Catalina operates in two major markets, right, the U.S. and Europe. We are an advertising company in the advertising industry, and we are priding ourselves with, personalized marketing. With personalization comes complication. And that's where we are. In the United States, we have what we call low volume, high dollar, high complexity invoices. And in Europe, we have high volume, low dollar, but also high complexity invoices. And we are in the business to business space versus, business to customer. So most of the time we operate domestically with, two billing specialists to collectors. And as you can imagine, when one person is out, that really, puts a strain on the other resource, right? So you're immediately down by, your capacity goes down by 50%. And I'm sure that many of you can relate to, to this and understand the impact it has on a daily operations. So when I joined Catalina in 2017, I had extensive AP experience, but really not a lot of, AR background. And one of the first things that I heard from my team as I was, getting acclimated and trying to figure out the lay of the land, at the company and my team was, after we create an invoice, we have to log into multiple platforms and manually key the invoice data so we get paid. And I was like, well, think about this, right? So we just talked about multiple logins, rekeying data. This automatically results in delays in delivery, higher DSO, and then increased past due balances. And we do have a homegrown billing system, and it's very powerful, highly customizable, yet its reporting capabilities left much to be desired. So let me give you an example of, what our collection process was at the time. Our collectors would have to go and log into multiple portals to check the invoice status and circle back to the billing to resolve any rejected invoices or missing invoices. And it wasn't unusual to discover, the issue weeks later. by then the payment was already, late. And the biggest pain point that, we had at the time was lack of visibility. And without visibility, what it results to is really multiple check-ins, endless follow-ups, no time for root cause, resolution analysis, etc. And we were busy, but not effective. We were chasing symptoms, but never fixing the problems. So I decided there had to be a better way. And say, let me know. I mean, is that something that you see, in the environment when you're walking and you start talking about automation?
Yeah, absolutely, Biliana. Like, in many ways, your story so far is very similar to other companies I work with, and in some ways, it's a little different as well. I think when I talk with companies, it seems like either their customer base requires a lot of these portal uploads, or maybe just a few, but everyone's kind of running into it, right? And it just inherently makes the process really difficult because it's just really difficult to standardize. Each portal is a little bit different. The requirements are a little bit different. And then I even heard you mention like your ERP, it's homegrown. ERPs really come in every shape, size, and color. And there's just the plethora of different integration requirements and preferences. So, vetting even just the simple matter of like integration when it comes to pursuing automating invoices is just integral as well. So really, really love like the backstory. You painted such a clear picture of the state before and the challenges with the portals and how that could result in some delays and some inefficiencies. Tell us more about, it sounds like you kind of set out to hunt for a new solution. Tell us more about what your goals were for that new approach.
Wonderful. So yes, fast forward 2020, 2021, I think Mark mentioned we all went home, became, a remote working environment. So some of the automation kind of, was accelerated at the time. And it was an amazing time, for me and my team to start, going back to the drawing board and just really figured out what do we want to do here, right? And we said, okay, we want a global solution that covers both of our markets. We want a solution that provides clear, actionable insights. But most importantly, we wanted a partner who valued growth and continuous improvement the same way we do, and was a great match, for our company and customer focus. We evaluated 4 providers at the time, and Esker stood out. Why? Because they listened. Their solution was, simple yet comprehensive. It really fit our needs. And some of their, key advantages really were the fact that they're based in France, right? So we just, Faye mentioned invoicing being mandated in many countries. It is coming down in France. So definitely, that was something that we took into consideration, felt like they're better positioned than some of their competitors into, taking on that market and helping us there. They also, besides the AR space, they also work in the AP space. So we found that they could understand both languages and really help us, bridge some gap, just share different perspective. And we really, started with collections first in the United States, and then we expanded into invoice delivery in the United States, and shortly thereafter with, collections in Europe.
Oh, I was just going to say that's like a great story, like starting in kind of one part of your business and kind of growing to include others. I was just going to ask, what your experience was kind of once you found that fit and you started to begin onboarding.
Right. So in one word, hurt. Esker didn't just sell us the software. They really offered us a perspective. They took a consultative, approach. We do have some really interesting, challenges, and we threw those their way. So, for example, our customer database has a hierarchy, hierarchy structure. So we have a parent and child, and We'll talk about invoice delivery, but that is actually across the board for a lot of things. So what we do for, for the customer in general may apply across the parent and the children, but sometimes it will apply only for the parent and some of the children, and then some of the children will follow completely, different process. So, for example, customer A normally gets invoices via a supplier portal. However, they work with, either an advertising agency or what we call a shopper marketing team. And in those cases, we may have to deliver the invoice either via email or to completely different, entity such as, the agency. And really, Esker's flexibility helped us resolve those complexities without over-engineering neither our billing system nor their, platform or solution. I think we all have been on the path where, we over-customize something and then we cannot, untangle it down the road. But really, it is the solution's flexibility that allowed us to use the, standard functionality to achieve our goals.
Wonderful. And what success metrics were important for you to track, and how did those wash out in the end?
Yeah, so, before Esker, we couldn't track a whole lot, right? So they were either non-existent, very hard to pull, manual, very messy to track. But we kind of, had an idea what our DSO is, past due balance, etc. So we set a goal, and we were like, okay, what is the main purpose here, right? So we were really looking to improve our DSO, and in the United States, we set out by 3 to 4 days. That seemed reasonable because you're speeding up the communications track, and then also with invoice delivery, that's about, on average, what it will take for an invoice to get delivered via, the manual process when you have to log into multiple portals and type in the data. So our goal was 3 to 4 days improvement in DSO. We wanted to gain visibility into the payment delays, why we're not getting paid, understand the root cause for those down payments. So let me take you, now fast forward to 2025, and here is where we are. In the United States, the DSO has improved 4 to 5 days. Our past due is reduced by 5 to 10%. And now our on-time payments have significantly increased. So especially since we added the invoice delivery, I looked it up a chart. We went full on with invoice delivery late in 2024. And our on-time payments have doubled for, this short period of time. Because right now, with the solution, what we can do is we can issue the invoice and deliver it the same day. There is now that, luck as we had in the past where someone had to, log into a portal and, handle the manual entry. But let me talk a little bit about Europe. So Europe, DSO improved by 10 to 15 days. Their gap between DSO and best possible DSO was narrowed by 10 days. All of their year-over-year metrics have improved. And they spent anywhere between 2,000 to 4,000 reminders each month. Let me just repeat that. That is 2,000 to 4,000 reminders each month. And that is no human intervention, right? So this is all done by the system. So just there, think about, the time savings and everything. All of this in Europe, the only change that we had was really Esker. And this is a great story about the power of automation. So Faye, how does that compare to the results that you see with other customers?
Wow. Well, those are, first of all, just really impressive results. And thank you so much for sharing them with us and the audience. And when we pull just like a blanket average for DSO reduction, what we see before and after Esker is 27%. I think that just the caveat is it varies so much industry to industry, right? And I think the key thing to think about for your company is, what does reducing DSO even one day mean to us? There's one electronics manufacturer that I work with where they figured out that one day of DSO was worth $300,000. So, multiply that by 3 days, 4 days, a week, whatever that improvement is, and then that can have a real positive impact on just the financial situation and kind of success of the business. So I love to kind of drill down into that one metric of, what is that one day worth to your company? So thanks for that question, Biljana. I love sharing those stats. Can you tell me what positive changes that you saw, like immediately after rollout of the solution?
Unfortunately, immediately after implementing Esker, we lost our US collection analyst. So pre-Esker, that would have been mission impossible, right? Catastrophic. We wouldn't have been able to collect or do anything. But here is what we were able to do because we had automation, right? So we maintain metrics. You just heard me talking about some improvements. And we also were able to tap into our partners from the sales and finance teams, and they could step in and help us, so sales, they maintain the relationship with the customer. So they were really, helping us make sure that the payments are flowing in. But all of this is only possible because we had a system in place and data was organized so they could actually help us. And then at the time, there was just, so much excitement. And I think still there is, right? So the CFO, the CEO wanted to get access. And all of a sudden, everyone wanted to get access to, into Esker. So everyone to see the real-time visibility. And currently, we have the entire sales organization set up with us access to, to the application. Eventually, in 2024, we transitioned our collections, offshore. Again, this was also possible because we had the structured data, the clear schedules, KPIs to track, so we could understand really quick when things were going, in the wrong direction, and how we can react, and and fix that before they become bigger problems. So 2024. We changed people, process, and technology all at once. And I think that for all of us who have been, in the industry of, shared services and financial, transaction and operations, know that this is a recipe for a disaster. I'm not going to tell you that it was easy, but I do know that because we had the system and we relied on the data it had for us so much, we were able to overcome that hurdle and get on the other side with, very minimum impact.
Wow. Very, very remarkable, results and impacts that you saw there. Were there any totally unexpected benefits, Biljana, that you experienced?
Absolutely. And the biggest one was massive data cleanup, right? So we're starting implementation. We're looking at our, contact information. And all of a sudden, we realized that our billing contact database is 40 plus years old. We didn't know this, right? We wanted also to go ahead and clean it up, but never had time, right? So there was no perfect time. And I heard, a quote by Tony Robbins, right? So change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. So that is exactly the moment that it happened to us. We realized that we had to do it. And, now we know exactly why payments are delayed. We know, who are our billing contacts, and we want to we can send the information there. On top of this, we don't have to do, data mining for days, and we don't have to, log into 20 different, sites and manage 50 Excel spreadsheets to figure out what's going on.
Wow, master data cleanup, that is an endeavor. And to your point, it's just one of those things that it just has to happen at some point, and it really can propel the team forward. Mm-hmm. So thanks for sharing that. What did you do? So you started with collections. What did you set your sights on next?
Yeah, so we talked about, so we did collections and then we shortly thereafter moved our focus into, invoice delivery because we knew that that's another, big pain point, right? And here is where Esker's, capabilities, really helped us. We had, again, unique delivery needs. You heard me speaking earlier about the customer A that it needs, invoices delivered in a different, manner depending on their, on the type of, products that we're selling or who we are, working with. Because of this, we had to build an invoice preference delivery file. So, typically most of the customers will get their invoices via, a portal or directly into the AP system. So what happened in our case is we built an invoice delivery file and, we started sharing those invoices using that file. Sure, there was a hurdle. So we started working on our portals and some of our largest and most important customers. But what did we find out? That to make any, automations there, we actually need to engage our customers. And in many cases, even, the Rebus, Coopers, and Johnsons of the world, right? So it was it was very hard to find the right people to connect with and how to even start that process. And here is where Esker, came to the rescue once again. So they introduced us to their, partner, MontoPay. And what Monto does is basically uses a combination of AR and RPA technology, and it mimics the human delivering the invoices. So that eliminated the need to have an API or some portal integrations that are very tech heavy. And, we were able to very quick deliver our invoices to the customers. And now we have real-time rejection reasons right away in front of us, and we are able to fix issues with invoices right away before they even become past due.
So you found a bridge. You made a way through that huge portal delivery pain that you painted a very vivid picture for us at the beginning of our chat. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you're setting your sights on next, Biljana, or is your automation journey, has it ended?
No, it hasn't ended. We just, we are now looking forward to automating the invoice delivery and compliance in Europe, right? So in France, September 2026, we are expecting the e-invoicing to become, mandatory. So that's our next project. And, if you remember from, the beginning of our conversation in Europe, our invoices are high volume, low dollar, but high complexity. So the payoff for automation here will be really, huge. And I'm super excited. Afterwards, we're looking to introduce automated cash applications, right? So with high volume, low value, we're looking for, systematic way to start matching payments versus the manual environment that we are in today, particularly in Europe. That's a big, big task. And then, of course, our goal is always simple: free bandwidth, operate more efficiently, and we're really continuing to proactively work on our AR approach. Most excitingly, we are looking forward to deepening our partnership with Esker and really shaping the future of the financial operations together. So, Faye, really the reality is automation didn't just improve our metrics, right? It changed our mindset. So we moved from chasing payments, into managing cash flow, proactive and with clarity. Today I pull dashboards. I can, speak about what the problems are, and I have the data to support it. In finance, clarity just isn't a luxury, right? It's a matter of survival.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing in such great detail. There's so many different elements and different angles that you were able to approach automation and implement it. And you have, more items on your list to tackle. So it's very, very impressive, and just really appreciate you sharing with the audience about your journey and your results.
Thank you.
If you have any questions or are interested in how Esker can help improve your business processes, check the links in the show notes. And as always, if you're interested in learning more about Esker, you can find us at esker.com. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll talk to you next time.